archive security. Reflect on your actions, you can, Padawan.
It doesn't show up in the archive charts. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You know what I've come for. And now you're going to give it to the First Order. Archives of the Force.
Hey guys, guess what? It's 2021, and this is the Archives of the Force podcast, the definitive podcast you should be listening to while you're out in the galaxy in your Millennium Falcon, X-Wing, or Imperial Cruiser. I am your host, Chris. You know who I am. This is probably season 70,000 or whatever, or 1138. Oh, pew, pew, pew. Sitting to my left, because COVID's still real and he's not in the studio yet, it is Carl Galley, but we're going to call him Carlo Ren.
What's up, people? Let's go. This is the way.
I'll say this again because obviously, but I'm really fucking like, the people that listen to this knows when I mess up. We did this show before, but things happen. So, Carl, what?
2021. We're just keep on rolling into
2021,
disaster.
man. We stormed Coruscant today. No, that's exactly what happened.
We got run on the Capitol and internet failed. It happens.
Exactly. So if you're not familiar with the show, what we do is we talk about shows, news, rumors. We talk about the movies. Sometimes we'll do commentary. Sometimes we'll review episodes of things. If this is your first time listening, thank you for listening to us on, remember, all platforms, Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and you can check us out on the Instagrams and Facebook at Archives of the Force Podcast and Archives Podcast on Twitter. Now, getting back to the first show of 2021, the topics for today are going to be Mando, Season 2, Episode 7-8. Brief description because I didn't do episodes for that. We're going to talk about the High Republic, top 5 deaths in all of Star Wars, not just the movies, just our opinions of what we think the top 5 deaths would be. News and rumors to end it all out, and that is the show. Now, starting with Mando's Season 2, one of the best things to come out of Star Wars since Clone Wars, the last 4 episodes, obviously being like the best. I think that's the best that's come out. But it's probably like that, Rogue One. But then Mando came out with this season. It's like the Empire Strikes Back of the Mandalorian
Our
show.
generation.
Basically, yes. So episode 7 was titled The Believer. It brought back Bill Burr's character as Mayfield, directed and wrote by Fumiyua, who also directed season 1's episode The Prisoner, which was the heist.
He really likes
breakout.
Bill Burr.
Yeah, he really likes Bill Burr. Or it just happened to collide that way.
No way. That's his man. That's like his dude, I guess.
What in the episode stands out for you in this one, episode 7?
For me, obviously it's him taking off the mask, right? Like that's the exclamation point of that episode. But for me, I think even better is the writing and the conversation that Mayfeld and Mando have during their ride up to where, there's a big fight scene on that tractor train thing that they're on. But it's the conversation that for me stands out because it's just, they wrote Bill Burr's character in a way where he's making fun of him, but also kind of instilling that feeling of he has to do whatever it takes now to save that kid. And I love that conversation. I love how he's just like, oh, so now you can wear a stormtrooper mask, but so where's that line at? And obviously we saw that line is take that fucking mask off and get that kid back. It's like that's where the line was. Yeah, and it was cool, man. I enjoyed that episode. I enjoyed some of the fight scenes. The action scenes were good too. But really for me it was that dialogue. I thought it was just really well written.
This is also the episode that caused a lot of controversy with original trilogy fans and new fans because Boba Fett got a paint job.
He did get a paint job.
There was people who were offended that they didn't keep it all scratchy, that it was, in the original trilogy he never got a paint job. To be honest, I don't like the whole getup he has with the cloak thing, like the armor over the cloak. I think that's like too it's not meshing well.
I think we're gonna see many adaptations of him though as we go on to his series. I don't think we have seen the final version of his costume.
What I did like though, because did you see the behind the scenes thing, the gallery?
I saw like a part of it. I watched it like really late. Probably drank a little too much, and I think I passed out during
his
the end part of it.
staff is actually from what is it? His culture, the not the Samoans, Baka.
I thought it was the Sand People.
No, actually
from New Hope and
well, they had one, but he asked Filoni and Favreau. He was like, "Oh, can I have a staff and can I use the fighting ways of my people? Because Boba doesn't have his armor yet. Can he fight that way until he gets his armor?
Like a Samoan from
Samoan New Zealand. What is it? It's something with a B. The tribe that like that.
Yeah,
they do that.
The Haka or what I think.
Haka. There you go, Haka. And so they fabricated this long giant stick for him, a club, and all those moves was his like suggestion.
I love when he was whooping ass with that stick.
It was cool because then you're like, he's not Boba Fett, but damn, this guy knows how to fight.
And it's kind of interesting how in episode 7 and episode 8 we don't see a lot of fighting from him, and I think they did that so purposefully, and actually also includes with the great writing is that they're really saving the best for his show. Yeah, and they're not going to give all of his secrets away. Yeah, and then now he's just a pilot, really, right? Like he's just dropping people off and picking people up. Like even though he's like one of the baddest dudes and probably the best fighter there.
It's crazy because Robert Rodriguez, he filmed the episode where Boba Fett came back, and before he got the job, he filmed everything on his iPhone with his kids of how each shot was going to get played out. And they saw that, and Dave Filoni was like, "Did you do that on your phone?" He's like, "Yeah, man. I'm sorry. That's how I wanted to see it if it would work." He's like, "No, man. You're with your people." He's like, "Yo, man, you got the job." Like, yeah, what I'm saying? Like, because of that, of course you're gonna get the job.
You got a long-term contract because of that,
dude. Things are gonna just happen that are just crazy. But digressing, at the end of the episode, Mando tells Gideon, it's time to pucker up, or I want the kid back. And we lead into episode 8, calling the rescue, where it starts off. They go into a bar. You see all the ships. You see the Mandalore ship. You see the slave one. There's another ship, so it kind of looks like there's a meeting.
I love that shot. That's like one of those ones that if you're a Star Wars fan, just go back, take a look at that shot with all those ships parked there. Because that's just like
good painting.
Oh yeah, it's just like a dope shot with like all these like ships from like the history of Star Wars that mattered. The only one that kind of sad is that we don't get to see the crest. Like that one parked there would have been dope, man. Like rest in peace. But like that's the only thing that's a little sad because like I really kind of fell in love with that ship after the first season and a half. But other than that, I just think it's a cool shot.
I think it's funny when they do that because they did it with Rogue One, right? They took the U-wing and they were like, "Oh, it's an old Republic ship," and that's what they said about the Razor Crest because you haven't seen it anywhere else.
Nope.
And they have to put it somewhere in the timeline. Yeah. So, I mean, oh man, like the U-wing is my favorite. I love the U-wing. But that Razor Crest, that is a dope ass ship. Like,
this is a dope ship. It had toilets. The first toilet we've ever seen in Star Wars.
Right? It had a toilet.
Yeah.
Like, but I never saw a bed though.
I'm assuming Han Solo was shitting on a toilet. He just seems like that kind of guy. But like, we never saw one in the Millennium Falcon.
Damn, that's right. Yeah, there isn't. Wow, shit. Damn, what? That is the first toilet. That's weird.
First toilet.
But it also showed us the first carbonite chamber,
like a portable one.
Yeah, like a portable carbonite chambers, which is
Kind of
I mean,
wild.
that changes the game because it needed.
Yeah.
I mean, only 7 years prior was you needed the whole thing in Cloud City. So that's pretty.
true.
That's pretty crazy. That because I like that when the technology in Star Wars progressive.
And it
Because in the
should.
sequel trilogy, like IE, they still
Except for
had
the buttons.
X-wings and TIE fighters. Like, come on,
Except
man.
for buttons and screens. Those never get better on Star Wars.
Oh,
Every
you mean
button and screen is exactly the same.
It's just a neon light of something going like
Yeah.
doop doop
Yeah.
doop. The technology's so crazy.
Yeah, when they were looking at like Snoke's lab and like looking at the genetics, and you're just like looking at the dashboard they're looking at, I was like, yeah, 1976.
That's so
1994.
advanced.
I like that
so,
they keep that stuff though.
So they reached Bo-Katan and Mercedes Sasha Banks. I keep on forgetting her name. It's like Krishka or something. Kriska, whatever. Bo-Katan and her, they meet up with Mandalorian and Boba Fett. They want to get Gideon. They want to get the kid. They're reluctant at first. You see a little fight scene. Boba Fett's a little old. I mean, not that old, but I realized that.
A million times.
Yeah, they obviously point out that he's a clone and he has a donor, and he's not a real Mandalorian, but he's like, I never claimed to be. So that's pretty cool. And then they meet up with Fennec Shan and Cara Dune's character. Wait, Cara Dune? Yeah, sorry,
Cara Dune.
Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune. And they plan this like Great Escape-esque plan to get Grogu. I always want to say the child or Baby Yoda. Grogu just hasn't stuck the way I thought it would.
I say it more now just to try to get it to stick. But I feel like Baby Yoda is like something that you can just say. Like it's okay that if you say Baby Yoda or the baby or the child, like all of those things apply. Like they set that for so long that like Grogu is going. By the time season 3 ends, I guarantee you everybody's gonna be like Grogu. But like,
if that kid never shows his face in season 3, everybody will still say Baby Yoda.
That's true. If they don't show the baby, I don't think they could do that though. I think this is a show about Mando and the child. Like that's the show is about. Like that's the premise.
I think you know what it's like. Okay, you've seen Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you know how Dragon Ball Z will be like. This is the Vegeta, the Saiyan saga, the Buu saga.
True.
I think this was the Grogu saga, and they're moving on. I don't think we see him again.
Wow. I mean, it does age very slowly. So by the time Mando's like 90, he's gonna look like he's 11. Right. Are we gonna have Are we ever gonna get like teenage Grogu?
Like the last episode of the last season, you just see a green lightsaber, and it's Grogu with like Mandalorian armor, but it fits his ears, and everybody's like, Grogu's back, what the fuck? The same reaction we had to Luke Skywalker in this episode. That's what's gonna happen. I really don't think Grogu's I think he's actually gone, because that dramatic leaving of him with Luke was, I think, like the cherry on top. I gotta
say, this Luke thing brought me back to my 12-year-old self. Seeing that X-Wing come in, seeing that, I mean, at first you're like, all right, who is it? We know we're getting a Jedi, right? The music changed. You saw all the dark troopers turn. You're like, oh, we're getting somebody here. Something's happening. And then you figure like, oh man, someone's about to wreck it. And you're like, in my head, I'm like going through all the possibilities. It's like, is it Leia? Is it Ezra? Is it Mace Windu back from the dead? Is it Luke? And then you see the glove, and then the green lightsaber, and I'm just
there was a part where I was like, this could just be a random ass Jedi.
Introduce a new character type.
Yeah,
deal?
just like I thought it was a new character because, again, his cloak just didn't look like it was Luke at first. Like when you saw him walk, I just thought, oh man, is this like? Because it didn't have Ahsoka's ears.
Nope.
Right? It didn't have the
silhouettes are super important in Star Wars. The silhouette matters.
So and it was straight black. Like I said, Luke's thing was brown. His cloak was brown. So I was just like, okay, well, this is someone. This has to be someone. They wouldn't just put this in there, and then you saw the green, and then the little walk by where his hand is holding.
That's it. That's what I knew. That's what I knew.
Ah.
And then they proceeded to give us a Rogue One Darth Vader hallway scene, but
It's a
with
shot
Luke
for shot.
Skywalker, and just ripping through him Skywalker style, massive force powers, boom, boom. Like, he wiped through all those things like they weren't even there, which makes me believe that Mando with a bulletproof armor and that Darksaber could probably wreck some of those dudes. Like, Mando's no slouch at all, so I could see him going through there.
You know what's crazy? I mean, Luke had a lightsaber, and that lightsaber, it can't go through Beskar, but he did it with such precision. Or wait, did he slice through them? Oh my god, I gotta watch this again.
Oh, he was slicing through them, but he was slicing through them because he did that one where he called the guy to him, and he zipped through it, and then he did one where he came through. But we never saw Mando fight anything with a Darksaber, so they're
maybe their armor's not Beskar then.
They can't be. It can't be. And we never saw Mando fight with the Darksaber.
Oh my god, that would have been so cool if he would have fucking ignited it at Luke. What? Can you imagine if that would happen? Like, I don't know who you are. And then we see Luke's and Darksaber go one-on-one.
Oh, it would have been so dope. I think we're definitely going to get Darksaber fighting another Sith or Jedi at some point. He's going to fight somebody with another saber next season. I guarantee you we're going to get something.
I hope so, man, because but it's the Mandalorian show, right? So the Darksaber plays into the Jedi lore, and hopefully
the fight scene he had prior to Luke, though, where Din fights Moff Gideon, was also pretty amazing. When you see him hit the Darksaber hits the Beskar staff, and it starts glowing orange, and it hits his arm, and
it's heating up and shit.
And then,
oh my god,
and then he just wrecks him because he's fucking Mandalorian, and so that's why I think Moff Gideon was kind of trying to get under their skin, there at the end. He was he was playing them. He was being manipulative. Yeah, you have a pretty.
He
solid
knew what was going to happen
here. Yeah, and Bo-Katan has had the Darksaber, so she knows how to wield that thing pretty freaking well too. So I would imagine that they could have wrecked some.
What I'm thinking is season 3 has to be about the coming of Mandalore again. So that Darksaber is going to play a hefty role.
Huge.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to have some outpost that's going to have houses of different Mandalorians. So it has to lean into that because the show is called The Mandalorian.
They're going to have to bring Mandalore back.
But
when was the last time we saw Mandalore for real? Rebels? When Sabine literally gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. I think it's the last time we were on Mandalore, and it was wrecked because they made that crazy
because the Empire
weapon.
The Purge.
Yeah. It's all glass or something. And I think they even describe it in the I think Boba Fett describes it in this last episode. He said Mandalore is just a sheet of glass or something along those lines, right?
Yeah. It was a good season, man. It was there was a lot of ups, and look, man, they brought back Boba Fett. They brought Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan. So much lore with Mandalorian as well. Even Jedi lore too, because who fucking knew Grogu was going to be the apprentice of Luke Skywalker?
Maybe the first.
What?
Maybe the first apprentice. You're talking 6 years
Luke.
after Return of the Jedi.
Right? Because even though Grogu got trained by other people, but he doesn't have a master. So how poetic is that Yoda taught Luke and Luke teaches Grogu?
It's perfect. And I think when you think of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, the way they think, at least the way that I've seen the writing in these last 2 seasons, and Dave Filoni over Clone Wars and Rebels and all of the work he's done, is you really see that they really dive deep into the lore, and they like that poetic beauty of taking stuff that George Lucas held really, really high, and then taking it and then building upon it. And those are the only 2 guys. They need to be running. I hope they run this whole expanded universe. I hope that they run it like Marvel. I hope those two can be like the Kevin Feige, maybe even together, but just like as a team of that whole
because
universe.
you have movie making ability in Jon Favreau,
Yeah,
but then you have long game storytelling with Filoni, and you mash
exactly.
that up into shows, and that's the golden ticket. Because we don't need to be honest, we don't even need another movie. If Star Wars never does movies again,
we got two coming though. We got two coming. So they got one with Tiki. I always forget.
Taika Waititi.
Yep, he's writing one, and then they also have one that's supposed to be written or supposed to be Kevin Feige.
That's true. And then there's a trilogy by Rian Johnson.
God, they gave him enough. Get him out of here.
They gave him that. They gave him that like months after The Last Jedi. So
I would have. No way. That game. They're gonna rip that contract up.
You know what's funny? So this is how I explained it to someone who has the same opinion as you. You don't like him because he destroyed characters you knew, but what would he do with characters you don't know?
So I don't destroy him for what. So what made this last episode of Mandalorian, episode 8, one of my top 3 favorite episodes of television I've ever seen, is that I got to see Luke, one of my childhood heroes, come back to life in the way that I wanted to see Luke.
The way
Master
everyone
Jedi,
played with Luke, like everyone thought.
And I know it's a glimpse. I know it's a blip. What Rian Johnson did to Luke, listen, I understand what Rian Johnson did with the writing of Luke, making him a hermit, making him upset, a failure. With Ben Solo, it didn't work out. His nephew, it was a dramatic thing for him, and I can understand why you made him a hermit. But what I don't forgive is that you put a 45-minute casino scene in the fucking movie that does nothing for the plot of all 3 movies. It was literally the most ridiculous, stupid scene I've ever seen in my life. I understand that they did a lot of rewrites on Rise of Skywalker, and he probably had plans for more stuff, but it literally was just useless. I also didn't like the fact that Snoke became a throwaway character. Literally
I didn't like that either.
Like, what are we doing? Like, we're just having throwaway Sith Lords now? Like guys are just like.
But they never claimed he was Sith.
The man was literally levitating the general from across the galaxy in a hologram, like Palpatine. But
he was wearing gold.
It's true. It just seemed like I don't like throwaway characters. I don't like throwaway scenes. I understand that they pivoted because of the backlash that they got from the movie. So
have you ever heard, because it came out recently, this story that George Lucas wanted to tell?
No, I haven't really seen that one yet.
Okay, so this is a bit crazy. So it leaked about George Lucas's sequel trilogy. Okay, the Palpatine role was going to be played by Darth Maul. This is what George wanted. Okay, Darth Maul was going to have an apprentice who's a woman Twi'lek, which is the double red Twi'lek with black stuff, kind of looks like Maul, as a Jedi apprentice to him named Darth Talon, and they were going to go against.
I love Maul. I love what they did with Maul all the way through Rebels.
Maul is one of my top 5 characters of all time.
I agree. The crazy thing about Darth Maul is that we got such a short glimpse of him in live action.
Ahsoka's number 1 though.
And what Filoni did with Darth Maul, the way they brought him back all crazy and re-put back together with the spider legs and just losing his shit. And then
and that was
the whole series.
Dude, that was George. George was there, man, for every episode of the Clone Wars. It was
amazing. And then what you said, the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, if you're listening to this podcast and you've not watched the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, Chris told me to do this for so long. He's like, you got to go and watch this. And then I did. And then I had rewatched it 4 more times because I think the last 4 episodes should be its own movie.
You know that Ray Park did CGI for that? He was in a motion capture suit.
Darth Maul in those 4 episodes is just spectacular. And
it's beautiful, man.
I love bad guys with arcs. I love bad guys that you can that don't always succeed, and Darth Maul never succeeds. Darth Maul is like a peon Sith. Like he just fucks up all the time. None of the Sith like him. Like they just are like, God, whatever. I mean, I guess there's rule 2 and like everything like that, but his brother was a badass character too. Like, so I agree with you. So what happened with this leaked? Darth Maul was supposed to be the villain. What else is happening here?
There was a couple of other stuff. Next episode we'll talk about it and give our thoughts.
I'm down
I have
with
to
that.
read the whole thing. I'll send you the link. It's pretty crazy actually. Like they wanted to go microscopic size and meet the people who are the midichlorians. It's pretty out there. Like it's like,
Wow.
but like at the same time, you're like, well, I mean, I would see that compared to what we got, you know, like
Yeah.
Darth Maul is like the bad guy.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that. I mean, they kind of killed him off though in Rebels. I mean, didn't they?
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, but that man doesn't like dying. He does not like dying. So.
Oh yeah, we don't know if he died.
Nope, that man never dies. He got cut in half, fell down a freaking pipe, and lived. So I don't know.
So he could have been buried and then come back to life and then still been like, why did I not die? Ugh, no. Okay,
season 8, man. There's season 2 of Mandalorian.
Hopefully there's a
Spectacular.
season 8. Hopefully.
You're right though about this. If they stick with shows, the writing allows you to tell more stories, and you can tell so much deeper, more personal. Get things like Finn in the sequels. I would have loved to see him in a show because he had so much stuff, so much story that probably wasn't told. That's the type of stuff like Rey. Rey was perfect from the moment we saw her to the moment we ended. I would have liked to see a lot of the middle and seen when she failed and when things weren't going her way. But Rey just kind of beast moded all the way through the sequels. I would have loved to see her have failures and stuff. And the only way you can do that is you need more than 3 movies. Well, I mean,
look at Luke. Did Luke ever really fail?
Yeah. They did. Well, they showed Luke's failure
when he cut off his. I guess when he cut off his hand, right?
When Luke went and battled Darth Vader and Return of the Jedi, and he went back Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And he thought he was the shit and he could take him. That was a failure. And then he came back. Then he came back in Return of the Jedi, went to go try to mind trick Jabba the Hutt, and Jabba was like, "Nah, go fight this monster." Like that wasn't even well executed either.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't.
I mean, he got Han out, but it wasn't well executed.
Yeah, there should have been more stakes in those movies, man. It wasn't. Anyway.
Now we have the.
We'll leave it in the past, and you know what else is in the past? The High Republic. Oh, look at that segue.
That's a good one.
So, the High Republic is this new multimedia opportunity for fans of old and new to come together to unite under one banner for new Star Wars content. It'll be across audiobooks, books, comic books, TV shows, cartoons, maybe movies, and any other form of content. Because supposedly there was going to be like a podcast thing too as well. But I think that was when it first began. I don't think that they're just doing the audiobook. So basically, it takes 200 years before episode 1. So yes, Yoda is in there. He's younger. He's in high school. He likes the babes. And
that's when we get to see like what teenage baby Yoda would look like.
I guess, well, let me see. If Yoda was 900 when he died, so he's around like 750, maybe 650 around there.
Oh,
so he's
prime Yoda.
We get prime Yoda. So I don't know how they're gonna do that. Maybe his own book or something like that. But there is a Jedi Council. I'll just go over the notes because I don't want to get. There's a lot of stuff that gives away. But the one thing is that so there's a great disaster that happens that sparks the High Republic story. Okay. If you want to know what that is, I suggest you get the books because this is all spoilers, and I found this and it's fine because the great disaster is the tip of the iceberg. So there's things that trickle down into the other parts of the multimedia
And
format.
what I saw, which is not spoiler, I saw that there is an adult book they released this week. There is a kids book that they're releasing, and then there's a young teen book that they're releasing. So they're trying to hit every generation with these High Republic books.
Yeah, so
and then they're coming out with comic books.
Yeah, so the first one's called Light of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's the adult book.
Yeah, that's the one that has all the Jedis in the cover. Basically, the thing that I took away is that they're doing interdimensional. Well, it's not. This is what it says. There's a way to rip through hyperspace known as paths, teleporting almost like the Star Trek Discovery's spore drive. There's an awesome battle there's a planet, and that's where they teleport to do.
So are they just traveling faster, like almost like going through like a wormhole or something, instead of doing light speed like how we normally see?
So if you're familiar with the World Between Worlds that was on Rebels, time travel exists in Star Wars. What I think this is, I don't think it's time travel, but I think it's more or less like okay, you know how like Guardians of the Galaxy, their hyperspace is just like a breach opens in like a wormhole, and they just like they're already there. They don't have to do through.
They're like jumping.
I think that's what it's like. I think you can get there like instantaneously, except instead of going through hyperspace.
Didn't we see something like that when in Clone Wars with the father and the son and the daughter with their world ship that they were on? Like it was there at one moment and then it wasn't there.
I think that has to do with the High Republic as well, because that's the Mortis,
which makes sense. That's like where the religion came from, and we're talking about where Jedi's came from in High Republic.
But then also you have to remember that Ahsoka now is technically, well, her life force is in there, but Ahsoka is
like an avatar of the daughter almost, right?
Yeah, the daughter, yeah. Because Anakin transferred her life force into Ahsoka. That's why Ahsoka is basically...
Then lightsabers?
Well, the lightsaber is because she's like, I'm no Jedi. But, like, she's interweaving through stories now. So I think Ahsoka's not going to die ever, because if they do, I will protest the fuck out of anyone. I'll send letters and shit.
I can't wait for her show. I cannot wait for her show. I hope her show... I was so happy with what they did with her character in live action, the way that she moves. I mean, like the way that how cool was it to watch her in live action? And the way that they did it with the darkness of the forest. And she moved like a ninja, like how she always is, right? She's like over here 1 second, over there another second. She could jump like 30 feet. Like that's how she always has been in Clone Wars. And like they can't really do that in live action, like in a good way.
But
so
they
just did darkness.
Yeah. Oh man.
They use the shadows to do it.
Ahsoka is my most favorite character of Star Wars. That is the top tier for me, because
she's top 5 for me.
Because it's first of all, it's like this. She's Anakin's only apprentice.
Yeah.
Okay. She left the Jedi Order, but still practiced the Jedi for her Force abilities, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you that you don't have to be aligned to be a Force user, right? Which is what we found out with Luke, because Luke was only trained by like an old man on
a very short period of time.
Yeah, you know. So I don't know, man. It's something about Ahsoka, man.
Her character development was so perfect. Dave Filoni purposely wrote her to be annoying as shit in the first season. Like he made her annoying. He was like, she's gonna be a 14-year-old. She's gonna do everything wrong, and she did. She like. How many times in the first season did she just screw it up? She lost her lightsaber. She lost a huge battle for them.
But I think that was also because
she never listened, but she also never got in trouble because Anakin was her guy. And Anakin was like, I'm not gonna yell at you. And then she morphed her. They morphed her into the best Jedi we've ever seen. Like that's what they did.
The time period between Episode 1 and Episode 2, like those 10 years where Obi-Wan was training Anakin, they never gave us that.
Yeah.
So when Dave Filoni was like, you know, when George was putting Clone Wars together, he's like, let's give Anakin a Padawan, and we need to mimic what it would have been like.
Yeah.
if we seen Anakin with Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan that whole time. Yeah.
So the way they wrote her was almost like how Anakin was during that time. So it mimics like, so you could notice like what kind of relationship they had towards the end, with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
I just think one of the coolest story arcs of Ahsoka, and I know we're going off of our track of what we want to talk about because Ahsoka's the shit.
Ahsoka is the shit.
But I love the fact that right after he gives her the lightsabers back, right after is when all the shit broke down, and like he had not seen her for a long time. He's obviously going to the dark side. It was the Jedi Order told him to spy on Palpatine. Anakin to spy on Palpatine. He is in the very last moments where he knows his vision is going to come to life, and he knows his vision is going to come to life because his visions were right about his mom. So if his visions were right about his mom, he knows that Padme is going to die. So he is and nobody listened to him about his mom. He kept going to everybody, my mom's going to die, and they're like, you're fine, just chill out. And then all of a sudden, Padme is going to die, and he's like, the only thing I can do is go to the dark side. But his heart's broken by a lot of different people at this point. Like the Jedi Order broke his heart. Him and Obi-Wan are not doing great, and they're in the end of the Clone Wars, so they're battle scarred. Everything's been a disaster. And then he sees Ahsoka, who's a bright light for him, and she's like, "I'm gonna have to talk to you later." Like, thank you, thanks for my lightsabers back, but I gotta talk to you later. There's other shit going on that's more important for me right now, and like it's just like that little push that we never knew happened.
You know what's also cool about Ahsoka? She is the only person to get 3 color lightsabers.
That's true.
She started with green, then Anakin gave her the blue ones, and then she lost those and made herself some white ones.
So I was reading. I have not read the novel, so I can't speak completely intelligently about it. But what I read was that she got the red ones because she took Sith swords and she de-bled them. So like, to get a red sword, you have to make your crystal bleed, and that's how you get a red sword, a red lightsaber.
They introduced that in the second Darth Vader novel, right after he turns in Revenge of the Sith. He doesn't have a lightsaber, and Palpatine's like, you have to bleed the blade,
make the bleed,
or whatever. But it's really
cool. I like that. I love that.
It's a dope concept because if you think about it, they're cracking. That's why Kylo's is so unstable, because he didn't know how to do it correctly. And
it's also why apparently Mace Windu is a little dark side, little light side. That's why he's got purple. Apparently, is what they're saying. Yeah, Mace Windu kind of rides the line.
Yeah, so his would be blue, but since he kind of like is not all the way good, the red meshed and made purple. That's kind of what like they said about it. But yeah, but then again, if you think about it, Rey's is yellow now, so I don't know what that means. Maybe
she's like an Imperial Guard. That's the only other time I've ever seen it.
Well, no, it was
like a Jedi Guard, like the Jedi Guardians of the Temple had yellow.
Yeah, it's a Jedi Guardian, which means that you're defensive instead of knight's more of attack. Green means you're more in tune with the Force, right? Thinking of ways to get out of a fight instead of going towards it. The blue is directly, and then the Guardian yellow means you're defending, in the best way possible. The yellow was actually introduced in Knights of the Old Republic. That was the first time yellow was used for Jedis, which I always had a yellow one in my character.
This transitions into our 5 top deaths, which I'm pretty excited to get into. I want to hear what you got.
Yeah, so we'll do 5. We'll do 5, 4, 3, and then we'll do our 2, 1. Okay. So I'll go first. So the top 5. So my number 5 is Darth Maul in Rebels. Only because there's so much story that it's so quick that it's poetic, And as he's laying in his arms, is he going to avenge us? That whole scene is it's so beautifully done. It's ridiculous, man.
There's a thing where Obi-Wan always fought in the same stance, always. And then when he sees Darth Maul,
switched it up
he switched it to Anakin's stance. and he
No.
fought him in Anakin's stance.
No, that was when he goes like that. That's Qui-Gon's.
Oh, maybe Qui-Gon. Yeah, I thought it was Anakin for some reason, but that's cool. I just love that he's always fought it the same way.
Yeah, it's Qui-Gon,
goes-
and then he went to the Obi-Wan, the original stance.
Love it. I thought it was so that I like that one. That's a good pick.
Yeah. What's your number 5?
Mine is Kanan Jarrus from Rebels.
Okay, all right.
Because I think Kanan Jarrus, obviously it's Rebels, so not everybody knows Rebels and watches Rebels. But if you do, Kanan Jarrus is my favorite character in Rebels. I love his story. He was a Padawan. His Jedi Master died in Order 66, so he just dipped. And pretty much is like Han Solo. Like, he just run around like smuggling.
I thought of him as that Jedi Han Solo.
He's a Jedi Han Solo. He wears a lightsaber that actually disconnects, so it doesn't look like a lightsaber, so nobody knows he's a Jedi. He finds Ezra. He becomes a Jedi because he's trying to help Ezra, but he's really bad at it. And then he becomes blind, and that shit changed everything. And he became one with the Force, and he really found himself. And I thought it was a beautiful written character. And his death is him saving all of his friends, but even more importantly, during that episode, his girl Hera tells him how much she loves him and he loves her, and literally seconds later he has to sacrifice himself to save all the rebels. And I just thought it was a really cool poetic death, and like to literally be like, yeah, I do love you, and then oh shit, we're gonna die, I gotta save you, and then use his force to like block like a huge fire blast that's gonna wipe everybody out, and then he dies. So I just thought he's a top 5 death for me in Star Wars.
That's a good one. I guess. Well, yeah. Since you already said that, my number 4 was Kanan.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's my number 4. Only because, with Maul, you had like movies and you had like a couple of shows, but with Kanan, why is it better than the Maul one? Is because even though we saw like Old Man Obi-Wan, that's cool, but Kanan was with us for 4 seasons, man. We grew to love that guy.
Yeah.
So when he changed his whole getup, I was like, I know he gonna die, man.
Yeah.
Like
when he shaved his head, it's on
blind, shaved his head. It's like, and then he just did the fireball, and he looks, and you're just like, no, and yeah, man, that shit hit. That shit hit, bro.
It hit good. It's the only time really in Rebels I was like, damn. All right, like I was like, it hit.
Was that the most emotional moment in I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know.
I mean, Ezra sacrifices himself too.
Yes, for the crew, but I don't know if that was the most, because when Anakin and Ahsoka met up, that
was dope.
I jumped.
It was a dope scene.
I was in blanket, jumped out, and just like.
And she cuts the mask, and you actually hear his voice. Ahsoka.
I know he has a fucking eyebrow. It's so stupid. It's really that was one thing that actually got, like, I'm not nitpicky really, but I was like, okay, he doesn't have eyebrows. Why did you give him an eyebrow? So
they wanted to make sure that the kids knew what we were talking about. That's what regrets.
Kids are like, eyebrows. His whole face.
So what's your 4?
No, that's my 4.
Oh, 4. My 4 now. My 4. Sorry about that. My 4 is Han Solo. I love Han. I'm a huge Han Solo fan, especially in the originals. But I even liked the Han Solo film. I didn't think it was awful. I know a lot of people are going to probably disagree with me and are not huge fans of that one. But I just like the character of Han. I like him, and then I loved him in the first prequel. Now I'm forgetting. No, the Rise of no, it's not Rise of Skywalker. What's the first one?
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. I loved him in The Force Awakens. Loved him the whole. It was just like having old Han back.
Yeah, that was great.
In the Millennium Falcon, it was great. We find out that Kylo Ren is his son. Loved Kylo Ren at that point too. Force Awakens, I have almost no problems with Force Awakens. I really actually enjoyed that movie from beginning to end.
The only thing that I have a problem with Force Awakens is actually the Han Solo thing, because. The killing him's fine because he wanted to die in Return of the Jedi anyway, but I think because Kylo Ren kills him, right? But you never had them talk before that. So
Correct.
him killing him, you're just like, oh, the bad guy's killing him. I don't really know the relationship between you two, so I'm not really invested.
I just like the fact that they went there, and they were like, we're going to start this off. Let's kill off Han, and it's like, damn, all right. Now it set the mood for me for the entire rest of them. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted to, like we discussed.
I mean, we should have seen it though. We should have been like, Luke's gonna die in the next one.
But for me, it was just like Han Solo mattered to me. He was one of my childhood hero of mine. So watching him die, I was like, all right. And at the time when I watched it in theaters, I was like, no shit, they just killed Han Solo, and it was like an impactful moment for me. That's four.
Yeah, it was. My number. Let me see. What are we at? 3.
3.
I'm gonna go with Yoda.
Yoda. All right. I like that our lists are not the same.
No, yeah, my number 1 would probably be like, what? Why'd you choose that? But I have my reasons. So Yoda only because I feel like he was more impactful in Empire. He didn't really give that many Yoda-isms, as you would say, in Jedi. But I think it was impactful because it took Luke a year to get back there where he could have been training with Yoda. And I think it left him with a sense of, the ability not to forgive himself for coming there sooner and watching his master die instead of, completing the training that he wanted to do. So he was kind of regretful in that sense. And, Yoda was a character that was well-liked. I mean, he was well-liked all around. He wasn't like Jar Jar or something like that, because he was his words were so wise, so that when he died, you're just like, damn, that's.
Can I throw something out there?
Yeah.
I think Yoda failed his entire life. I don't think Yoda did anything good. Yoda failed the Republic. Yoda failed all of his Padawans. Dooku became the apprentice of Palpatine. He literally died on a deserted planet. Crazy. He was like going out of his mind because when we saw him in Clone Wars, he was pretty sharp. When we see him with Luke, he's like beating up R2-D2 the whole time.
Yeah, but that was before he let him know that he was Yoda. Remember, he was playing him at first to see what he would do.
I don't know if Yoda was a successful Jedi the entire time. He let the Palpatine, the Darth, like the Sith Lord, be the damn Chancellor for 30 years. He met him in meetings every week.
I agree to a point that yes, Yoda's a failure, but that doesn't stop the fact that he was Grand Master of the Jedi Council, and
that all got eliminated from the face of the Earth, or the face of the universe, of the galaxy. Gone. No more Jedis by the time he died. There's 3 Jedis left.
Well, no, because the comic books and other stuff, we found out that there's a lot more Jedis that escaped the Purge.
The Force is out there, so there's new Jedis being born. But the Jedi Order, like literally collapsed. I know
he wasn't even on the planet when it all went.
I'm talking shit about Yoda, which is probably the worst thing to do on my first time at the Archives of the Force, to go on here and start talking shit about Yoda.
No. You got to establish what you like and what you don't like.
But
if you don't like Yoda, just fucking say it.
I like Yoda. I think he's a cool character. I just think he's a failure as a Jedi Master.
It's true, though. He is, though. How do you have Anakin, right, sitting in front of you, and he's telling you about these images, and you can't see these images yourself? Like, you're not attuned to the Force? That's bullshit.
It's silly. Like, the whole time. Anakin went to him originally in the second Star Wars movie, in the prequels, and he goes up to Yoda, and he goes, my mom's going to die. I need help. And he's like, I think you need to go meditate.
No, that's Revenge of the Sith, where he sat with them, and he's like, what is it? You need to let go of everything you fear to lose.
Everything.
Which is a great Yodaism.
It is. All right, is it my third?
Yeah, you're third.
Obi-Wan. So I'm gonna go with Obi-Wan Kenobi when he died in New Hope to Darth Vader. There's a lot. I mean, Obi-Wan is like an all-time best character anyway, so easy to kind of put him in the top 5. But I think he sacrificed himself to Darth Vader. He looked over and saw Luke and Leia standing next to each other for the first time since he separated them as kids. and looked over at them and went, if I keep fighting Darth Vader, which he could have, he didn't have to like put his lightsaber down and just take it. He could have absolutely kept going. To be honest, Obi-Wan's a beast. Darth Vader was going to have his hands full if they were going to like keep going. But he puts his lightsaber down, takes it to the chest. The reason he did that is because he needed to make sure that Luke and Leia got away. Because if Luke and Leia didn't get away, they would have died. So I think that's a super impactful. It also sets the tone for all of the originals, because at the time, Ben Kenobi was the mentor, and you kill him off in New Hope pretty, not even that far into the movie, and you're like, damn, how's Luke going to learn to be a Jedi? Like, we just found out that he is a Jedi. We just found out that Jedis even exist. Like, this is our first movie ever in history of Jedi.
Hey, damn, man, he was like the Mr. Miyagi. What the hell happened?
Yeah, so that for me, that's my number 3.
Okay, so mine
2 and 1.
My number 2 is Darth Vader.
All right.
We were in the whole trilogy with him. He's basically part of the main story. We wanted to see the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. And in the last closing moments of his death, that's what we got. We got a father wanted to see his son with his own eyes, as he says, which it's pretty – the first time you see it, it hits you. But then after all these prequels and stuff, it's kind of like – doesn't hit you as hard because it's – you see so much Anakin, right? Because when that came out, we only saw Darth Vader. He was only the leather mask and the drapes and all darkness and whatever. So when you see the human side of him for the first time, you're like, oh, there's a freaking guy under there. That's right. I have to be reminded of this. That is Luke's father, So I think it's a beautiful line when he's like, I want to look at you with my own eyes. That's some beautiful shit, man.
It is. I agree.
It emotionally hits you because, like, let's anybody with like a parent, you're just like, I want to save this parent, but it's like, and they're like, they just want to make sure that their kid is okay. So that's what Star Wars has always been about. It's always been about family.
Yep. So, yeah. No, I agree with that 100%.
That is my number 2. What's yours?
My number 2 is actually my number 2 was elevated. I gotta say, it was elevated kind of recently. It probably would have not even been in my top 5 until I listened to Dave Filoni, but he has elevated him to number 2, which is Qui-Gon Jinn. So yeah, I put him at number 2, and it's really just because of that interview that we listened to Dave Filoni, and he speaks so eloquently about George Lucas's vision of what Star Wars.
Oh, the gallery, the round table.
Yeah, and he talks about Qui-Gon should have been the father Anakin had and deserved, and dying to Darth Maul changed the entire history of Star Wars. And he talks about how Anakin grew up with Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan is a brother to Anakin, not a father. Qui-Gon was a father, and losing that means that he was inevitably going to go down a path that's darker than he should. Did he need to turn all the way to Darth Vader? No, probably not. People needed to listen to Anakin. Like, a lot of this has just come down to nobody listened to Anakin for so long. They ended up just like, screw you guys. But Qui-Gon was somebody that, like, Qui-Gon wasn't on the council. Qui-Gon wasn't on the council because he didn't ride the line right. Like, he wasn't a good enough light Jedi, perfect father figure for what Anakin needed. But he never got that and he didn't have that person that truly believed in him. I mean, Obi-Wan didn't even believe in Anakin for a long period of time, not until the Clone Wars, really. So, like, you're talking 15 years of just, having to grow that relationship, and it just didn't work out. So Qui-Gon not being there changed the whole history of Star Wars. I never really thought about that until I heard Filoni talk about it. So he has elevated him as a top 2 death for me in Star Wars.
Yeah, no, that's my number 1. That's Qui-Gon, because Dave Filoni's thing's correct, but also Anakin has a mom. He was born out of the Force, which was actually Palpatine. But he never had a father figure. Qui-Gon would have been that father figure because Qui-Gon was the head of the Jedi Council. Qui-Gon was like, we can't just be all black and white. You can't just not have passionate, you cannot have love in your life, and he knew about the corruption, and so when he died, Obi-Wan was reluctant to take the kid, and he was like, I don't want him anyways, but I'll trade him because I gave my word, but I don't want him. So he never got the father figure that he really needed. He just got it, someone who didn't want him in the first place. So when all that stuff happened, like his mom dying and stuff like that, those are attachments that he had. If Obi-Wan would have died in front of his face, he would have not have been that attached. And that's why with even Ahsoka, he wasn't a father figure to her because he didn't know how to be that.
Yep.
So with Qui-Gon dying, when he looks up at Obi-Wan, he's like, promise me you'll train the boy. I feel like Qui-Gon should have probably said, you got to love this kid, not just, he's not a regular old Jedi. He's not a youngling, that we picked up. He's a different kind of cat. So that Qui-Gon, when Duel of the Fates comes on that song, it's because it's really the duel of the fate of the child.
I love that. I just think that Filoni's description of that is just has elevated it so far for me. It was one of those things that like I just never put that much thought into it, and then it was beautiful. And it really
it's right that should put everything in perspective. Which
my
is
number
funny,
one, my number one is Anakin Skywalker, and I'm not saying it's he dies twice, right? Anakin dies when he fights Obi-Wan on Mustafar, and he becomes Darth Vader, and he leaves. He's no longer Anakin. He's now Darth Vader, right? He dies there. And then he dies as Darth Vader as he's reborn as Anakin and saves his son, right? So I have to put him as number one because he's the only person that I watched die twice. And you get to see it both times. You get to see the transformation of a death from a guy that is a Jedi Knight and literally just gives up that life. He is no longer Anakin Skywalker. He is Darth Vader. And then when he dies again and save his son, obviously for number one. So we just swapped 1 and 2. Darth Vader's also like my favorite character, and Anakin Skywalker's like my favorite character in Star Wars. So I just have to have him as my number one.
Wait, who's your favorite in Star Wars?
Darth. I'm a Darth Vader guy all day. I love bad guys. I'm a bad guys guy. Like, that's why I like Darth Maul too. Darth Maul's probably like number 2. And then we start talking about Jedi. Then we might be talking about Ahsoka, actually.
There you go, man.
That's the dude, man. I just remember as a kid, I was just fascinated with Darth Vader, like how he would just like walk into a room and an admiral would be talking shit and he'd just be like, look, close his throat. Like,
prepare your ground troops, Admiral Veers.
I love the new comic books, those Darth Vader comic books that they came out with, whole series.
They're so good, man.
So good. They
are so good.
Beautifully written, and like you get to see like his anger and like how he's still trying to figure out how to use the dark side to get Padme back, and he is realizing that Palpatine just fucking lied to him. Like he never told him the truth. So it's just I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And Anakin is written. I just like the way Anakin's written throughout the whole Clone Wars too. I think it's.
Yeah, they fleshed out his character in Clone Wars way more than the movies ever did, which is good because people hated Hayden Christensen for that role, and after the Clone Wars, they appreciate him more now.
Yeah, they do because like we talked about, shows give more context. So when you get the context, you can fall in love with the characters. The reason Ahsoka is your favorite character in the history of the planet is because we got to see Ahsoka, a lot of Ahsoka. And we even got to see her in Rebels a generation ahead again as Volcrum, and she's a completely different character there. Like,
she's older, wiser.
It's just cool. Like, you get to see, like, we saw her from a kid.
A progression, yeah.
To a grown-up, and, like, that matters. Like, and, like, we spend a lot of hours with Ahsoka. Like, there's a lot of hours.
I know,
7 seasons with Ahsoka.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
So,
yeah, look, man, great list. Look, if you guys like our list or not, let us know on the social medias, all the platforms. If you have your own death that you feel like should have made it into the list, or if you have your own list, let us know as well. As far as news go and rumors, there hasn't really been news out. That's because, I guess with the announcement from the shareholders day, all that stuff, that's all news.
I heard a nugget today. I heard a nugget. You might like it.
Are you talking about the one about the? Is it the George Lucas?
No. Even this one's. I don't know if it's true. It was just like in the
No,
pipeline
rumors, man.
of
Rumors
news.
are rumors.
They're in talks right now. Jon Favreau apparently is in talks to try to get Robert Downey Jr. to join in the Star Wars universe somewhere.
Nah.
Give it to me, man. Give it to me. Make
I
him a
don't
bad
know,
guy,
man.
though. Can we get him as a bad guy? I like Robert Downey Jr. to not be like the goofball. I'd like him to come in. I mean, he's still going to be sharp and witty or whatever, but like make him like a bad guy.
Can we make him as like an old grizzled Jedi?
That would be kind of funny. Yeah. But
just-
Robert Downey Jr. I heard Robert Downey Jr. is. I mean, he's best friends with Jon Favreau, like so. Like that kind of makes sense. And Kevin Feige is going to be making a movie, so and we're not getting any more Iron Man. He's probably looking
we're
for his
getting
next
Ironheart.
his next thing. You know, he's going to be looking for his next.
He doesn't need a next thing. He has
Well, he doesn't
so
need a
much
payday,
money.
but-
He could. That's it. I'm
but
pretty
you
sure
want-
he could.
When you do Iron Man, I feel like you got your next thing's got to be. I mean, you've done Iron Man, you've done Sherlock Holmes. I mean,
He
he's like
did Doctor Doolittle, and that
Dr. Doolittle. He takes on some big roles, and like Star Wars right now, with the future we're looking at, with the lineup they're putting out, man, you could do. I mean, he could jump into a few different things.
You know what
like,
it is? I think his name is too big. And if you see like
That's-
Robert Downey
that was
Jr.
the-
in a Star Wars movie, you're like, wow, look at that Robert Downey Jr. movie. I don't think you think Star Wars.
The comments on the video I was watching about the rumor, were all that. Where he's too big for a role, and Star Wars is built off of people that we don't really know.
Yeah,
It's a lot of new people usually.
that's true, man.
And
Pedro
and we're-
Pascal, he's not well known. He had a stint on Narcos,
yeah.
and he had maybe a couple of roles, nothing serious. Adam Driver from Girls, HBO, a sitcom. Daisy Ridley, out of nowhere. John Boyega, Attack the Block was his only movie. Oscar Isaac did a couple things, but even Oscar
Isaac's
wasn't,
a big guy. Oscar Isaac was freaking Apocalypse.
Well, he was Apocalypse after he was Poe Dameron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was in 2016. He only did some indie stuff, not really that much. So when you saw him
Annihilation?
in Star Wars, he didn't take away from the story. So
He's a
yeah,
big. He's a big.
all those movies that you're naming, he got that after the Star. I think Star Wars projected him into like another stratosphere.
Like it does for everybody. It'd be interesting to see what they do if they can ever do it on the reverse.
Even Luke Skywalker. I mean, Mark
Who's the
Hamill
bad guy?
wasn't nobody.
Who's the bad guy from? There's a couple people in Rogue One that were pretty big stars. The bad guy in Rogue One, I cannot remember his name.
Oh, Mikkelsen. No, Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, he was Hannibal, and he did Casino Royale as the crying villain, the red one.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of movies. He also was in. Wasn't he the bad guy in Doctor Strange?
Yeah, he was. But in Rogue One, Diego Luna, not that big. Felicity Huffman, she only did like The Theory of Everything, the Stephen Hawking's joint. And then everybody trickling down is, Star Wars. It's funny, but for real, Star Wars is just based on
The characters.
people that you don't really know embracing these characters. Like Alden Ehrenreich taking on Han Solo. People were mad that he was Han Solo. They weren't mad that he was replacing Harrison Ford.
You just can't replace Harrison Ford.
The only person that I
Truly.
would think would be bigger than the character is Childish Gambino, but that's because Lando's
Samuel
out
L.
there.
Jackson is Mace Windu.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, there you go. Samuel L. Jackson is Mace Windu because he was already established. He didn't need that shit.
No, he was a beast, man. Pulp Fiction made him a legend. So
But see, that's why the prequels are different because you had Christopher Lee, you had Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, Ewan McGregor was a name. Hayden Christensen, not so much.
Ewan McGregor was a name.
Liam Neeson.
Liam
Come
Neeson
on,
was
man.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Who else?
This is where I'm at. If you're
Natalie
gonna bring in a guy
Portman?
if you're gonna bring in the prequels were different. They brought in bigger names for the prequels. If I'm okay with bringing in a Robert Downey Jr. because I love his talent. I just think he's a ridiculously talented actor, and you just have to write him right. And I trust at this point. I'm just putting all of my faith and John Favreau and Dave Filoni and what their vision is. And if they think that they have a role that is for a Robert Downey Jr., and you know what, he doesn't even have to be Robert Downey Jr. He could be a voiceover of a character now at this point. You know, like Robert Downey Jr. can end up being a droid. Like, we don't know. Like, some of the best characters are droids now. like so.
Yeah, like K2SO. What's from Rebels? What do I want to say?
It's Thumper. No,
Chopper. Sorry.
Chopper.
Yes, Chopper, K2SO, obviously C-3PO, R2-D2. I love Afra's droids. You know, Afra. You read the comic books, Afra, the chick who chills with Darth Vader and does some of his dirty work for him. Dr. Afra. There you go.
Yeah.
Have you read that story?
Yeah.
BT-0 and her, because she has her own R2 and Dark C-3PO. Man, that's
great.
I can see that show.
I like my favorite droid
evil.
is the one from Rogue One. I can't remember. I don't know. That's it. When it's got like such a great personality. It's like
yeah.
Urso, like Jyn Erso gives him the gun, and he's like, "All right."
Captain Andor said not to kill you.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite droid. That's the best droid ever written.
It is, man, and he's gonna be in the Cassian Andor series. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. We get him back.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me more excited about that series.
I just gave you a little gift, a little nugget.
So are we in Andor? Are we gonna get some of Rebels? Like, are we gonna get? Like,
I would say no.
Kanan, are we gonna get Ezra like in Rebels? Like, are we gonna get some of the Rebel stuff? Like Hera's like a general, isn't she, of the Rebels?
Hera should be around. Yes.
Like
Hera's
a beast in that. Like, she should be like the pilot. We should see Ghost maybe. We might get a Ghost show up.
Ghost was in Rise of Skywalker.
Ghost like their ship. Ghost was in Rise of Skywalker?
It was in Rise of Skywalker. So when Lando and Chewie come with all the ships, right? There's a part where the Millennium Falcon does this and levels out, and it's right there. Like if you're looking at it right now, right, and this is just the regular screen, the Millennium Falcon does this for the camera, and the Ghost is right here.
Oh, I gotta check it out. I didn't even notice that.
You could see it in the trailer, man. I was like, oh shit!
Like, because I mean, Rebels takes place right before New Hope, right?
It's 5 years before.
5 years before. How about Thrawn? I mean, just before we end this thing, I'm so excited that we have a big bad coming back and that it's Thrawn. He's a great character. I hope they get Cumberbatch to play him. Benedict Cumberbatch. Give it to me, bro. Put it in my veins. He is literally that's what I see when I watch him in Rebels. Like, I see Benedict Cumberbatch.
I don't know, man.
Like dry, just like I literally what's the in Star Trek? He literally already played him. I mean, like, isn't that bad guy in Star Trek? The first Star Trek movie that came out.
Oh, Khan.
Khan, like, he literally is Khan. Like, that's what Thrawn is. Like, it's like the Star Wars version of Khan. So, like, he's already played the part. But
I don't know. Do you see Cumberbatch as that guy?
I do. I think he'd be perfect. I think he would just be able to nail it. He's such a great actor, and he would just nail. You need somebody that needs to portray he's the smartest person in the room all the time. Like,
have you read any of the
Thrawn books?
Empire? Yeah.
I bought them, but I haven't read them yet.
There's the 1990 ones. Or was it the 1990 Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, and then they came out in 2015 with a new batch. So it was Thrawn, and then Thrawn, and then Thrawn Alliances, and then Thrawn. I think there's 3 or 4 new Thrawn books. But yeah, all made by Timothy Zahn too. So he's like a Thrawn fanatic. If anybody is going to write Thrawn for any show, it should be him.
They should bring him on.
Yeah, he knows the character inside and out. Thrawn is top 5 for me of characters of all time.
He's a perfect like big bad guy to have out there. right?
Yeah,
Like at
because
this
he's not
point,
force sensitive.
no, he's just smart,
literally just
a genius.
the Chiefs, that species of alien is a higher intellect than
Everyone.
humans, so he could. You're playing chess. He's moving dimensions. It's like doesn't compute with him. He's thinking differently. So,
And it's cool because if he's alive, that means Ezra's alive, right?
I want to see what they do with Ezra, man. They were supposed. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's
In
coming
live
out
action,
with-
I hope in live action that they use some of the animals with Ezra. That's
So-
such a cool part of his character with like that he's so connected to animals, and like you don't see that almost not at all in any of the live actions. I think you've seen it like maybe a handful of times in the prequels. Like I think Anakin like tamed a beast at one point when he was like in the gladiator pit, but like you really just don't see that all that time a lot in the live action at least. And Ezra, like the whole show is just like friends with every animal that walks on like in the galaxy. So
Wow,
like,
it's
I
so
think
weird. You're
cool.
talking about animals and your cat just like went behind you.
I know.
That's force.
He's
That's
messing
force,
with my
man.
food.
No, but they were gonna have a sequel show to Rebels to where Ahsoka and Sabine go looking for Ezra and they find Thrawn's people's worlds, the Chiefs, and supposedly Rex has dementia or some shit, and supposedly that was like ready to go 2020. So I don't know what's
They
happening.
pivot
with
to
that
live
shit.
action Ahsoka show? Did they pivot that way and say, you know what, we're just gonna do a live action with
I
this
don't
real
know,
Ahsoka?
man. I don't know.
Because I would love to see Sabine with her painted Mandalorian outfit, like just fully graffitied out Mandalorian outfit. Sabine in live action would be dope. There's an episode, the first episode of season 2, before Din goes back to Tatooine, and he goes and sees that gangster, and they're like in a boxing ring. Remember that? And then the baby like closes the thing. He shoots a bunch of missiles.
The
and, like, does everything.
Cyclops.
And then he takes the Cyclops out, and they're walking down the path, and they show it in the gallery, and they have like these. They just graffitied like all the wall, and like my first. When they were doing the graffiti, they're showing it in the gallery, and it wasn't something I caught when I watched the episode, but I went back and saw it and like kind of paid attention to it. And like my first thought was like, where's the Sabine marking? Like there's gonna be one in there. Like she tags everything.
Oh, like the Phoenix Squadron?
Yeah, like I was like looking for it. Like it's like that's something Filoni would throw in there and like just like kind of like do it. But
Damn,
yeah,
I didn't
I would
think
love
of
to
that.
see.
Now I want to go
Yeah, there's
search
like
to
that.
see if it's there.
It's like all graffiti. Like and they made like this whole thing. They're like, oh, you have to put layers. Like you have to do layers of graffiti. So like, cause it's got to look like. I was like, man, I bet you they threw some Sabine art in there. But yeah,
So
I would love
crazy.
to see her live. I'd like to see Ezra live. I'd like to see Hera live. I think that whole crew would be fun to see. And like you're talking about, not that far off. You're talking 10 years down the road. So we get a grown-up Ezra, a grown-up Sabine. And we just saw what Ahsoka looks like. She looks great. She's aged very well. So yeah,
Well, yeah,
I'm down for
that
all.
species could live up to 200 if they're force sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty force sensitive because when she fights Darth Maul in that last 4 episodes it is dope. So dope.
And you know what else dope? This show and it is done. Guys, go remember Instagram and Facebook, Archives of the Force Podcast. Twitter is going to be Archives Podcast. Every week this show is going to come out nonstop, and we'll also have commentary, like I said, other shows as well. Make sure you check out, it's going to be coming this year, probably February at the latest, Knights of the Dark Saber. I'll give more information about what that is soon, whatever. It'll definitely come. It's about collectibles, Star Wars collectibles and stuff like that. For Carlo Ren and me, we would like to say thank you for listening. Tell your friends about us. And if you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is the way, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Thanks for having me, bro.